Hey everybody, what is going on? It is Rick here. Time to get into April with reviews. This is the first half of April reviews. Only 6 movies to talk about this time. Like I said, I think I've kind of found my thought of mine when I'm doing these reviews. Try to keep my thoughts briefer than I normally do. I feel like sometimes I really tend to ramble on about movies. I want this to be like a shorter, kind of like some thoughts, if I recommend it or not, and then my rating. So we're going to dive right in with something I checked out on Hulu, a documentary called Bad Rap, which is basically, it's a documentary about 4 Asian American rappers. This documentary was released in 2016. Excuse me. And why I mention that is it's basically, they're trying to break through in an industry where there's an underground movement, but there's not a lot of mainstream Asian rappers. And what caught my eye about this movie is one of the rappers they discuss is Awkwafina, who since this movie has come out, this documentary, has gone on to star in movies. She has her own Comedy Central show. The first time I heard of Awkwafina was she has a particular song that if you Google on YouTube Awkwafina rap song, you're probably going to find out what it is, and it's a vulgar song, but it is a fun song, and that's kind of the first I ever learned about Awkwafina. So, an interesting look, like I said, 4 different rappers at different points in their career. An established rapper that, his name's Dumbfounded. Lyrics and Rex Dizzy are like trying to find their niche, trying to find their in the music business. And then Awkwafina, who's not only an Asian rapper but a female Asian rapper, but she's a rising star. She has broken out because of the song I mentioned. Like I said, I enjoyed it. It was a fun documentary, a fun look at a rap subculture that doesn't get a lot of attention, but this does a great job of keeping you interested throughout the runtime. So Bad Rap gets a 3.5 out of 5 for me. The next thing we watched was from the library. We got a couple DVDs, and that's the next couple things we're going to talk about. The first one is Silent Night. Basically, the movie is an attempt at a dark comedy about the last night on Earth for a family. Lots of issues among the family. But yeah, it's this weird, like, the world's going to end because this smoke stuff's being put out in the sky, and you have to take a pill so you can die peacefully. Like I said, there's little kids involved in it, and the movie there's a few laughs from the bizarreness of the movie, but overall it gets really dark, and the humor just disappears, and it's a really good cast. You have Keira Knightley, Matthew Good are 2 of the leads, as well as Annabelle Wallis, Lily Rose Depp, and Roman Griffin Davis, who plays the kid in Jojo Rabbit. His parents actually directed the movie, if I remember correctly, or I want to say his mom directed the movie, because his 2 brothers are in it as well. But yeah, it was a weird vibe. It like I said, it wanted to be a dark comedy, but it was just dark, and not really a thought-provoking. Anyway, and predictable too. I kind of called the ending before it happened, which in a movie like this, you at least want the ending to be something like, wow. Like, I think of a movie like Ready or Not that does dark comedy, horror really well, and you aren't expecting the way it goes. And so yeah, Silent Night gets a 2 out of 5 from me. The next thing we watched, like I said, was another DVD from the library, and that is Roadrunner, a film about Anthony Bourdain, which is a documentary about Anthony Bourdain. Now, Anthony Bourdain was somebody I didn't really know much about, never watched Parts Unknown or had read any of his books. I was familiar with who he was, but not familiar with his life. I'd heard really, really great things about the documentary, so decided to check it out. So Anthony Bourdain had a lot of battles with addiction, seemed to struggle with becoming a celebrity and the battles of that, and but at the same time also loved everything that came along with fame, while meanwhile not being happy with what came with fame. So it was a bit weird, but like I said, lots of struggle. The movie focuses a lot on interviewing a lot of his friends and colleagues. Basically, the movie starts out with how he passes away, and then kind of like follows his trek through stardom, wives, traveling the world with weird food, and it basically just tells his story. The movie, I think, was 2 hours long, but it was an interesting watch. Heartwarming, but also soul-crushing for sure while watching the movie. I gave Roadrunner a 3.5 out of 5. The next thing we watched was a Blu-ray, this being the 8th of the Best Picture nominees from 2021, and it is Belfast, which I got on Blu-ray just because we hadn't seen it. It wasn't streaming anywhere, and we wanted to check it out. We were trying to watch 9 of the 10 Best Picture nominees before the Oscars were on, and the movie came off like giving play vibes, especially with it being black and white. It felt like they wanted the movie to be small on purpose, which is fine. So I don't think the movie needed to be in black and white, though, to give off the vibes that it needed to give off. Like, it still would have had that small feel the way it was shot. Jude Hill plays young Buddy, is the best part of the movie. He's the main little kid that's in the movie. Jamie Dornan plays his dad, but he makes the movie watchable. Basically, it's the story of his school life. He has a crush on this girl named Catherine. Like I said, he's a young kid. They befriend each other in the film. It takes place at the end of the 1960s in Belfast, Ireland. Protestants are attacking Catholics, and there's all sorts of craziness going on in the neighborhood that Buddy lives in. And basically the movie just focuses on Buddy's family and the strife that they're dealing with in their daily lives, trying to just have a healthy family life with everything going on. Belfast, it's a 3.5 out of 5 for me. Definitely worthy of a watch if you haven't seen it. Not something I decided, I think I sold it already. Wasn't something I needed to keep. Bridget and I both enjoyed it for a one-time watch, but I don't see it being rewatchable for me. Speaking of which, we watched Cop Out, which I have not revisited in a long time. The only Kevin Smith movie that he directed but didn't write, if I remember that correctly. So yeah, it's the only time he's directed something that he did not write. Definitely a bottom tier Kevin Smith movie, in my opinion. When I went and saw Kevin Smith do a Q&A many years back, we're talking probably 12, 13 years ago, he talked about how much of a nightmare it was working with Bruce Willis, which since then, with Bruce Willis's health issues, he kind of backed off of those stories, but for years and years, he talked about how miserable Bruce Willis was to work with, how much of a jerk he was, how he would give notes and stuff, and Bruce Willis disregarded it. The movie is pretty much cookie cutter, R-rated buddy cop comedy. That is what this movie is. Doesn't offer a lot of laughs. The only time the laughs really hit for me is when Sean William Scott's character is involved, who is a very minor role in the story. We watched this because Bridget had never seen it, and I think now the only Kevin Smith movie she hasn't seen is Yoda Hosers, which I told her she's going to have to watch on her own because I'm not going to sit through that again. But Sean William Scott steals pretty much every scene he's in. Lots of familiar faces in the movie. I do enjoy the baseball card plot of the movie. Basically, Bruce Willis has his rare baseball card. He's going to sell it to pay for his daughter's wedding, and the card gets stolen, and it goes on from there. But overall, the movie just doesn't do a ton for me. Cop Out gets a 2 out of 5. And the last thing we're going to talk about, the last movie we watched in the first half of April, was because RJ said he was interested in checking these movies out. So we decided if we're going to do it right, we're going to watch them all. And that's interesting for me because I'd only watched the original and then 2 spin-offs of this franchise. I'd never seen 2 through 6. So I'd seen 1, 7, and 8 essentially, never 2 through 6. So we decided to dive right in. Bridget had seen the original, I believe, but none of the others. And that is Rocky. And yes, I know I'm from the Philadelphia area. What do you mean you haven't seen Rocky before? I have seen Rocky. I just haven't seen Rocky 2, 3, 4, 5, Balboa. But I've seen Creed and Creed 2. So a classic sports movie, one that has become something of legend. Sylvester Stallone is in the Boxing Hall of Fame because of this movie. Like I said, RJ was curious about checking these out. He's been interested in like Sylvester Stallone, Arnold Schwarzenegger movies, and I'm trying to find ones that are appropriate for him. And I figured Rocky would be a great series for him to get into. The movie is the quintessential underdog story combined with a love story and a boxing flick all in one, and it makes for a great story. I will say this movie's a bit slower. It's probably one of the longer ones too, at over 2 hours. Establishes a lot of characters and set up for the franchise, but it's very slow in parts. I thought RJ would want to tap out after the first one, but overall, a fantastic climax with the boxing scenes. The boxing scenes obviously are the best part of the Rocky movies for me, and the training montages, of course, but the original Rocky gets a 4 out of 5. Try not to burp. That is it, guys. That is everything that we watched the first half of April 2022. Thank you for watching. Hopefully you enjoyed this video. If you did, give it a thumbs up. Check out the description down below where you can find links to my socials as well as Letterboxd, where I rate and review all the movies that I watch. My Blu-ray.com profile, my eBay store, Amazon wishlist, email, P.O. Box, all can be found down below. So thank you guys for watching. Until next time, who's down to movie?